was looking at that and I said, how does that sound in the NIV? I'm going to read this to you in the NIV. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet watershed. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. Now that's the NIV. And so it's basically saying the same thing, but sometimes it's nice to read another translation to see if they have a different way of saying it that nudges us and gets us. Yeah. So if I'm resting in the Lord, forgive me, John 10:11 says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. Yes. And we have heard the stories about the shepherd, how the shepherd, he has his rod and his staff. He's got one to lead, and then he's got the other one with a little crook on it, so when you go too far, he can pull the sheep back. Yeah. Because sheep are passive, as many as us are, but they need a leader. And I saw something on television the other day. They were trying to circle the sheep and get them to go, and there was an aerial view, and it was showing like the sheep were in a V. Once they got the beginning ones to go, then the rest of them just followed behind. Well, that's good to be a sheep if you're following behind a good leader. Amen. But if you're just following because it's the thing to do, and you don't know where that person is going or where that person has been or what their goals or intention for you, you're just setting yourself up for the entertainment of others. And that's something someone has said to me a long time ago, probably my grandmother, that people will set you up for failure for their entertainment. But we say the devil does that too. So that's a characteristic we want to follow. So if someone wants to set you up for failure, that's not a shepherd that you should follow. Because you're not going to have any rest with that shepherd. You're going to have turmoil. And First Lady, failure. And we all have a problem with wanting to have success. Oh, that's another one. I'm going to have to do that one day and look up all the letters for success and see what that says. I'm sure it's something awesome. But when you're resting in the Lord, you are resting in Him. When you have a problem, I don't have to tell Betty, because Betty's going to tell Gloria. And Gloria is going to tell Anna. And Anna's going to tell, and it goes on and on and on. Because there's a song that says, I had a problem. And I told a friend. And my friend told a friend. And that friend told a friend. And that friend told a friend. But when I told the Lord Jesus, it stayed right there. And sometimes you have to know who to tell. Because that's going to be turmoil. You're not going to have rest. And it is good, it is awesome if you find someone that you can confide in. Someone who knows the definition of confidentiality. I am confining the details to you. If I wanted everyone else to know, I could get on my telephone and make a phone call and tell. I heard you. But I want to keep it. So if in the natural you can't go to someone, you can always go to God. Yeah. You can always go to God. That's why our ancestors ancestors tried to teach us the Lord's Prayer. They want us to have something to aid us, to comfort us, and to keep us in times of need. So, as I continue to look at this rest, I start seeing other scriptures. Like I said, God is just like a parent. Parents going to tell you things over and over and over and over because they love us. They want the best for us. They will punish and whip us sometimes. But don't we need that if you have done something wrong? Because the one time that my grandfather spanked me, I deserved it. My grandfather would stop my father from spanking me. He would stop my grandmother from spanking me. He used to say, Ella, leave that girl alone. I did creative things. Thank you, Professor Jackie. You just didn't know how creative I was. You know, down south, the watermelon man would come by. Watermelons, watermelons, right? And everybody go out and get watermelons. My grandfather, excuse me, had bought about 7 watermelons. And he was cutting watermelons like 2 or 3 days in a row. So on the 4th day, my grandfather said, we're not going to have any watermelon today. Excuse me. But I wanted some watermelon. So my grandmother, in teaching me different things, she had little miniatures and everything. She wanted me to learn how to cook and everything. So I had a little knife set. So the watermelons were lined up by the refrigerator. Y'all heard this story before? Okay, so they were lined up by the refrigerator. I got the little knife. I went and I cut a square in the watermelon. I tasted it. It was delicious, just as I expected. And I put the square back in. So my grandfather came and he said, come here. And he was just laughing. He said, come here. He said, what happened to the watermelon? I said, well, you see, Papa, the rat went in the kitchen and got a knife. And he cut it and he put it back. He said, the rat? I said, yes, Papa. He said, so tell me again how the rat did it. I said, got a knife, and he cut that, and he put it back. He said, and he put it back exact. I said, yes, sir, Papa, he sure did. And so he's just laughing, and then he says, well, let's just cut the watermelon. And little precocious being, not being spanked enough, said, well, that's all I wanted you to do anyway. That should have been spanking. But Papa cut the watermelon, and we had watermelon. Creativity. Creativity. Now, I missed it that time. But the one time, I guess my grandfather said, this cannot go on. And God is like that. You know, sometimes things keep going, and God gives you warnings and warnings and warnings and warnings, and you keep going and going and going and going. He wants you to not fall over the cliff, but you keep going. So there was this older girl that would get off the school bus. She had to walk past the side of our house. And she would, taunt me, and she'd say, you just a baby. You can't go to school. I was about 5 years old. And I used to get on my nerves. Her calling me a baby. So I picked up some rocks. And I threw the rocks at her. The truth will set you free. I've been delivered. I threw the rocks at her. And so then my grandfather was in the bathroom. And he hollered out the window, you stop that. You leave that girl alone. And this is prior to him spanking me. My grandparents allowed me to call them by their first names. Now, in the South, but they thought it was cute. So I put my little hands on my hips, my little 5-year-old hips, and I said, Ed, you ain't gonna do nothing to me. He said, wait till you come in this house. I just kept playing and playing and playing and playing. So I went in the house, and my grandmother was sitting in her room in a rocking chair. Remember, they wanted me to have everything that they had, so I had a little wooden rocking chair. I'm just sitting there rocking. She's singing this happy spiritual, and I'm just rocking, I'm just rocking. had two doors. He comes through the door and he's running. I'm like, why is he running? And when it hit me while he was running, he flipped that rocking chair over and he tore me up. Wow. And then my grandmother, the song changed. She started singing, sweet Lord, sweet chariot. And the more he hit me, the sadder this song got. So I went over, remember they were Ed and Ella. I said, Mama, why you let Papa whip me? And she just kept on singing. I never got another whipping from him. But I was do that because I didn't tell you that when I told him he wasn't going to do nothing to me, I was throwing like little small rocks at this girl that was going down the road. But I picked up a big old rock and I threw it at the screen. And if the screen hadn't been there, I would have hit